Hello, everybody. This is Louise Eddington, the Cosmic Owl and Wisdom Weaver of Cosmic Owl Astrology. There's my owl. And this is the week ahead astrology forecast for the week beginning June the 23rd, taking you right through to the 30th with a little sneak peek into something that happens in very early July. Before I dive in, this is probably going to be a little bit shorter than usual, but well, you'll see why when we go in. This also goes out in my weekly Substack publication, post, whatever you call it. And paid subscribers to my Substack also get my daily cosmic wisdom weaving and other posts that I write. And I also sometimes make at least some of the daily posts available to free subscribers. But talking my YouTube channel, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment if this is your preferred place of watching these videos. And this also goes out to all podcast providers. But apart from Spotify, you won't see the images. And so my camera has shifted. That's better. I don't know why that's happened. Anyway, here we are. I'm recording this on the solstice. In fact, I think the solstice may be happening about right now. So let me just have a look at that. I should have checked this before. But the solstice is... Oh, it's already happened. Yay, we are in Cancer season, all right? It happened at 2:52 p.m. my time, and now it's 3:22. So we're 30 minutes into Cancer season. And things are getting very watery and very emotional. And we have the full moon tomorrow, the Capricorn full moon, which means it's the moon in Capricorn and the sun in the moon's sign, which is Cancer. So it's that in itself is very watery, despite the moon being in an earth sign, although there is a call to maturity in this full moon. But by Sunday, when we start this, the solar standstill period will have finished. We are at the solstice, which means the sun appears to stand still for 3 days and then turns back on itself on its path and starts moving again. But then as well, we have also been in what's called a lunastice. We've been in the major lunastice, which means that the moon is way, way, way out of bounds. And in some areas of the world, it looks as if as the full moon sets, it looks as if it's walking along the ground for a little bit. But there's lots of ancient places that are lined up with the lunastice. Stonehenge is one of them. So I don't know really what it means astrologically, except I did look at the last time this happened in the summer solstice in the Northern Hemisphere in 2005. And not long after that, we had Hurricane Katrina and a few other things. Not all of it was bad. The IRA called a ceasefire in Northern Ireland. That was kind of the end of the Troubles eventually, which has always interested me because I used to live there during the Troubles. And but this full moon, and I'll move on to next week after this, is square to Neptune in Pisces, which is floody water. And I am a little bit concerned about the hurricanes coming in. The meteorologists have warned that it's going to be a very strong hurricane season. But let's move on to the week ahead and stay to the end because I pulled some cards for the week too. So you want to see those. And it's good for my algorithms. YouTube loves it. The more people that interact, comment, subscribe, thumbs up, And the more people watch, or the longer they watch, the more attention my videos get. So here we are, starting on the 23rd, June the 23rd, which is a Sunday. We always start on the Sundays here for these week ahead reports. And I have to tell you that we don't have very many major aspects this week. So we start the week with the moon in the sign of Capricorn still. And you can see that here the sun is at 2 degrees Cancer. So the moon is starting to move towards the sun, ready for the next new moon. But that means the moon is starting to lose its light. But by Sunday, it will only just be leaving the full moon stage and leaving this lunistis. Okay, but that will do for the start of the week, just to know that the moon's in Capricorn. But then June the 23rd, later the same day, all times Eastern, almost 12 hours later at 11:14 p.m., the moon moves into the sign of Aquarius for a couple of days. All right. Honestly, there's not many aspects. So let's just say we start the week with the moon in Capricorn for most of Sunday in most places in the world. And that is quite serious. We're under that full moon. It feels a little bit weighty, like it really is time to mature and grow up. But then the moon moves into Aquarius for almost 2.5 days. And Aquarius is more humanitarian. It's an air sign. Ideas begin to flow. We leave the full moon phase. But that's all I'll say about the moon being in Aquarius. Now I'm going to move on to June the 25th. And on June the 25th, I'm actually going to get the aspect exact. On the 25th, Mercury has now left the beams of the sun. Venus is still combusts the sun, only almost 6 degrees away, not out of the beams yet, but Mercury, free and easy, out from the beams of the sun, should be visible as an evening star under very good conditions. Mercury's not always easy to spot anyway, especially that close to the sun. But officially, Mercury is in Cancer. Mercury is our mind and our thoughts and words and communication. Mercury is the messenger. And Mercury in Cancer is very sensitive to words. You know, I'm a big fan of words. I'm a big fan of words' meanings and changing to use more co-creative words and things. Mercury in Cancer is very sensitive to the meaning of words. All right. And on the 25th, sensitive Mercury in Cancer opposes Ceres in the sign of Capricorn. And Ceres is retrograde in Capricorn. She represents our needs, both met and unmet. And this is a real hard look, an opposition at how the structures of our society do not meet our needs or do. It's looking at the structures of your home, of your family life, of the area you live in, and the greater structures, all the structures, all the things. And it's also asking you to mature and realize that you can create your own structures that give you a base of stability and security. But it is quite sensitive, this opposition. All right, this is by Tuesday. You may, we're really stepping into Cancer season now, 4 days in. It's the water energy over here in Pisces, so intense, because we have Saturn stationing retrograde on the 29th, just 4 days after this. Neptune is stationing retrograde as well on July the 2nd. And Nessus, the revealer of epigenetic, generational, intergenerational patterns of abuse, it just stationed retrograde already. So this hard look by Mercury, making some decisions, thinking about it, is very sensitive to what's not working. It's a very sensitive week altogether, as if Cancer is not sensitive enough anyway, because Cancer is our emotional foundations. Okay, it's the basis, it's the birth, it's childhood, it's the family, it's the bottom of our charts in many ways, in or the bottom of our being. It is our emotional sense of stability and foundations. On June the 26th, early in the day, we have no more big aspects, but the moon moves into Pisces, adding even more to the water energy for a couple of days. Wow, it's just it's big. And then the big aspect on that day, June the 26th, is Venus square, and almost at the same time, I'll point out something else. But later in the day, just after noon Eastern time on Wednesday the 26th, Venus still combust the sun. Look, we can see only 11 minus 5, 6 degrees apart at this point, almost exactly. And it's officially 10 degrees apart that Venus becomes visible, but it does depend where you are in the world. Some people will probably be able to see it. But Venus will square the nodes. Okay. Venus will square the moon's nodes at 11 degrees, which is, you know, a gateway, an opening number. And then any square to the nodes is a turning point. But we have a lot of turning points. Okay, we are in a great turning. I'm actually just watching a presentation by another astrologer that I will probably talk more about later, about an even bigger thing, about a great turning. But these are little turnings that are part of the big turning. So Venus squares the nodes, and pushing us towards Aries, to being individuated, to finding out who we really are. I am taking a stand for ourselves, leaving behind just expecting somebody else to do it all for you, codependence, over-reliance on other people. This does not mean you don't be in a relationship. You're just not coming from a place of need and expectation that they can fill some hole in you. It's saying, if it is to be, it's up to me. So we get to my favorite topic, self-care. Self-care, self-care, self-care. Okay, especially with Venus in Cancer. Venus in Cancer is saying, you know, love yourself first. And then when you fill that hole on the inside of you, you are more able to be more loving out in the world and help others. And at the same time, pretty much, or right afterwards, Mercury trotting along, look at this, now 14 degrees away from the sun, trines Saturn. And I've already mentioned that Saturn is about to station retrograde, just 3 days away. So not only does Mercury oppose Ceres in Saturn's home sign Capricorn, looking at all those needs met and unmet, Mercury makes a supportive aspect, a trine, watery trine, to stationing Saturn in Pisces. And that enables you to really tune in to that basis of security within you that brings you that emotional stability and gives you the ability to go, I've got this. I have the strength and the determination and the backbone, which is very Saturnian, to do this. Okay. But Saturn's going to go retrograde, which may bring up some limiting beliefs around that. But we're starting to see that we can do this. Okay, so on to the 27th. And you can see here the moon is in Pisces for a couple of days. On the 27th, the moon is still in Pisces and going over all this crazy Piscean energy, feeling like a tidal wave. It's just off the charts emotional, but there's no major aspects on the 27th. On the 28th, the moon moves into Aries for a couple of days, and then Mercury, look now, look how far Mercury is away from the sun. But Mercury will square Chiron in Aries at one of my favorite numbers, 23 degrees, which is the most human number in many ways. 10 fingers, 10 toes, 2 ears and a nose, seconds in the biorhythm for blood to go around the body, pairs of chromosomes, 23, 23 days in the biorhythm cycle, number of chaos magic. But Mercury, who is a bit of a boundary crosser, squares off to another boundary crosser, Chiron, a shapeshifty energy. Both of these shapeshifty energy. Chiron sacrificed his immortality to save Prometheus and to heal himself from his wound that would not heal, and therefore shifted and was into being immortal and was able to die from his wounds, and then became a constellation. Mercury, Chiron has that giving something up to heal kind of energy. And then Mercury is also a boundary crosser. This is a very healthy square to kind of look at you where you are in your healing path, okay, and look at where you are in that, finding your core self, your selfness energy, your I am energy in this healing, major healing opportunity we're in. Okay, so on the 29th, Saturday, see, we're rocking through these. Okay, but Venus over here, Venus, let me get this one exact for you. Venus sextiles, is that right? There we go, June the 29th. Venus is now nearly 7 degrees away from the sun, still not out of the beams, and sextiles Mars. Now, Venus and Mars met in February at 6 degrees Aquarius, which is a hot degree. If you search through my YouTube channel for a video called Fools and Lovers, you'll find out why the 6 degree mark is such a hot degree. Now then, each of these, of course, after 6 Aquarius, Venus and Mars have moved apart. Venus is the faster moving planet, so she's moving further and further away from Mars, and they are in sextile to each other. And Mars is in Venus home sign, one of them. And Venus, super sensitive about self-love, self-care, loving the family, loving that basis of security and things. This could be a little bit, even though it's a supportive aspect, this could be a little bit like, you know, Mars going, hey, you know, let's rock your basis of security a little bit. Mars is in the sign most associated with the material world, money. Things could feel a little bit on shaky ground. And you'll see that the tarot really kind of emphasizes this. But then later on the 29th, by the way, is the biggest day, okay, in this week. So later, 3:06 p.m., Saturn stations retrograde. All right, so here's Saturn stationing retrograde at 19 degrees, 25 minutes of Pisces. Now, Saturn is the brakes, really. So as we approach the 29th, and Saturn is slowing down and grinding to a halt and putting barriers and blocks up and walls up, this could push a whole lot of water, emotionally, intuitively, and literal water. So just be mindful of that if you live in coastal zones or in hurricane, you know, season or whatever. Later that evening, after that, 7:20 p.m., I'm not going to get this one exact, Mercury's already moved to 25 degrees and squares off to truth teller Eris in Aries, who is still shaking things up and revealing things about the elites and the vanity of the, of shallowness of kind of the ruling classes and the gods and goddesses and the beautiful people as well, all those kind of things. The shallowness is being revealed here, there, and everywhere. I mean, people like Justin Timberlake being arrested for drinking and driving is, at one point he was Mr. Squeaky Clean, right? Well, I don't follow him all the time. Maybe he's not now, but anyway. Then later that evening, still Venus follows the Mercury aspect to oppose Ceres. Now, this is Demeter and Persephone in a way, as if Ceres, building or reflecting on the structures of society meeting her needs, faces off to her daughter Persephone, it being reborn, perhaps. This is fairly significant because Venus, Ceres, and Pluto are all going to meet at 0 Aquarius on December the 7th. So this is now only 5 months away, and or less, 5 months away. And I've been watching that 0-degree conjunction for a good couple of years or so at least. There's something brewing, some kind of resolution, some kind of healing and coming together of the worlds, the underworld, the middle world, and the upper world, the shamanic realms, which is really what I see the Demeter Persephone myth as representing within ourselves, basically, mind, body, and spirit. Okay. And so bringing everything into harmony and balance. And this Venus and opposing Ceres is in the axis of basis of security and birth and family and maturity and elderhood. So it's time through the ages and coming into that sense of balance. Quite amazing. Last aspect on the 29th, Mercury still trotting along, will sextile Uranus, lower mind, higher mind. This is like ideas galore. Like, wow, things are, Mercury's becoming more and more visible as evenings start by the day, moving further and further away from the sun, speaking to Uranus, and just everything kind of going, oh, innovation, there's those new ideas. Perhaps I can actually really kind of get my head straight to actually start working on them now, because Mercury's been under the beams of the sun for so long. So if you have any writing projects and things going, you may have been struggling a little bit with them, but things should be starting to come together. Then the moon leaves the sign of Aries and moves into Taurus on the 30th at 8 a.m. Sorry. So there's the moon in Taurus. And on that day, Mars over here actually trines Ceres. So Ceres is getting aspected by Mercury, Venus, and Mars, 3 personal planets here. And they all saying, how are my needs being met in all ways? Mind, body, spirit, action, all those kind of things. But this Mars trine to Ceres gives a big push of energy, of Earth energy, for potting or sculpting or making or building and creating, co-creating the things that will bring you that basis of security we've talked about. So that's Sunday. And I've moved into Sunday already, and I will be doing next week's, but I do want to give you a little peek ahead, because you'll feel this building all week. So on July the 2nd, Neptune stations retrograde at 6:40 a.m. in Eastern time at 29 degrees 55 minutes of Pisces, oceanic Pisces. And remember, Saturn just stationed retrograde. Nessus is retrograde. He's stationed retrograde this last week, just before the full moon. And then Neptune. This is like a tsunami. And if you think about a wave coming in and then sucking everything out and back and washing things out to sea and leaving some fresh surface behind, eroding and eroding, or the tidal wave coming in over and over, whatever analogy you want to do. This is huge. Now, in the you cannot make this stuff up department, and I will talk more about this on next week's video or make a whole video about this. Mercury still in Cancer, but about to leave the sign of Cancer, will trine Neptune. Something is going to be cleansed and washed away, and we're going to see something underneath all of that stuff. This is a very interesting week ahead, all right, week and a bit, because Neptune is so vast and Pisces is such a vast energy and chaotic energy that really you're going to feel Neptune stationing from now till and then for a few days afterwards. So, you know, look for those big weather events, but also think of it in terms of the emotions too. Something is going to be washed away, or you're going to find you're losing your faith in something. There could be some grief and loss, but then you discover something underneath. It's these two, well, in fact, these three, all stationing retrograde within about 2 weeks of each other, is intense in that last sign of the zodiac that represents compassion, the collective unconscious. It's going to be, yeah, very interesting. Wow. So really, we finished the week. I just want to point out Venus is by July the 2nd, at least, over 7 degrees away from the sun, heading towards actually being seen as evening star in everywhere. Mercury's going to move into Leo. We'll look at that next week as well. But know that we're in the waning moon phase as well. We're in the 3rd quarter. And so we are heading towards the real shedding and releasing stage. But we're still in a doing stage after the full moon. We're still into kind of like, you know, perhaps do some purging and cleansing and clearing out your closet, that kind of thing. Or clearing the decks, clear your desk, or whatever's kind of holding you back in this chaos, because it's very chaotic energy. All right, so we are going to look at what did I want to look at? Oh, I did want to quickly look at the Chandra symbols for that Saturn station. I will, of course, be writing about them in my daily Substack as well. 20 Pisces. See, it's so hard. I'm actually only going to look at the Chandra symbol in this case, and I'm going to look at Elias Lonsdale's interpretation this time. John Sandbach channeled them, but I'm going to look at Elias Lonsdale's interpretation, which John Sandbach highly approves of, by the way. Okay, so Pisces 20, a perfect black cube sits alone in the desert. Isolation, uniqueness that becomes separative and self-referential, exquisitely designed to be only a certain way and not any other way, preserved against rust or corrosion, maintaining standards, priorities, what seems to be the given. Yet something is wrong. It is true that all lies within, and that turning yourself into what you are not is ultimately absurd. But you are not listening, not paying attention to the subtle clues. You are so intent upon self-consistency that you have tuned out far too much in the process. And this shall call forth lessons and hard experiences to crack you open again, and to give you a chance to discover afresh what can be when nothing is assumed and nobody has set anything up ahead of time. That really speaks to Saturn stationing retrograde in Pisces in a big way. Saturn can be very much do it on my own kind of thing. And this retrograde is going to wash some of that away. Anyway, let's go to the cards. So the first card I pulled was the Ace of Pentacles. I pulled all reverse cards for this week. So this one is a reminder to create strong foundations to support your dream. So Cancerian. It says, you know, there's a need to prioritize. You may be not looking at the bigger picture and not looking outside to what that can support your dream. There could be a little bit of sense of loss and missed opportunities, or you have to look out for opportunities that you could miss if you were not looking carefully. And then I pulled another reverse card, the Empress. And this is saying, you know, emotional overwhelm, shutdown, the need to look after your health and nurture yourself. Okay. Could I repeat that anymore? Too much focus on the material aspects of life, and it's a perfect time to look for and move towards that which inspires you, not just because it's money or whatever. Four of Pentacles, and then we'll say goodbye. But don't forget to subscribe and thumbs up and all the things. So here's the Four of Pentacles reversed. I will take a picture of it. And this is lack mentality. Too much value on money. Keep getting that message. More focus on your feelings, your intuition, inspiration, and things like that. It also is an opportunity to be more charitable, help others in their time of need in some way. So that's your week. It's not a jolly week. It's highly emotional, but it's okay that it's emotional. The emotions, the feelings, whether they're highs or lows, are telling you something. So much love. And self-care, self-care, self-care.